been over a week since my first recommendation video, so you might assume that I've gotten better at recommending books, but that was actually 5 minutes ago for me, and I'm still just as much of a mess, so we're gonna do our best. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome back to my channel. Popping in today with my fiction recommendations for Book Buffet, the readathon that I am hosting along with some lovely ladies in August. All the information linked down below. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already heard me talk about it, but I think like half of my videos in the last 2 weeks have been about this readathon, so you're probably sick of it already, and let's just get to the book recommendations. Before I get into these recommendations, I'm going to make a few blanket statements. So, obviously, I am recommending these books to you, so they all fit for the recommended book prompt. As you will have seen in the title, and I think I just said, but honestly I'm so tired that I'm not even sure at this point, these are all fiction books, so they all fit for the fiction prompt. And I have not yet read any books in 2021 that were released in 2021 and are about food, so these all fit for before 2020. And also, of course, I don't know where you live and I don't know what foods you tend to eat, so I can't really say what's on a different continent or what's a new food for you. I'll try and mention that sort of information where I remember, although again, I'm very frazzled at the moment and I'm doing my best, okay? I feel like that's been something I've said in like all of my videos for the last month and a half, but it's been true and it remains true, and okay, enough preamble, let's just recommend some books. The first book I want to recommend is Quesadillas by Juan Pablo Villalobos. This is I'm gonna read from the description because I did not know how to sum it up. Madcap Mexican satire about politics, big families, and what it means to be middle class. And I think there's some magical realism in this. I don't think I'm misremembering that. This is about a teenage boy who's grown up in a very small town in rural Mexico, and events that I don't fully remember lead him to sort of leave his town and go off and encounter new people and have a bit of an adventure. I remember really loving it. I think I gave it 5 stars, so it was probably really good. You might think that the title of this book, Quesadillas, is just like a cute title and that quesadillas won't actually figure that much in the book. That is not the case. Actually, let me step across the room and grab my copy off the shelf so I can explain to you just how important quesadillas are to this book. I wrote an essay on this book for a Spanish class in university, and I don't know if you can see, but all of the blue tabs, of which there are many, are incidences in which quesadillas are an important thematic metaphor or theme in this book. And in case you think I'm just bullshitting about that, I actually did really well in that class and I got a good grade on the essay, so clearly the quesadillas are important. As they should be, they're amazing. Oh my goodness, I kind of want to go make some for dinner now. Anyways, this is a translated novel. It was originally written in Spanish, and it's also by a BIPOC author, so it could work for those prompts in addition to, like, I don't know, maybe you've never had a quesadilla and it's a new to you food. In which case you should read this book and also make yourself one because they're so good. The next book I want to mention is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. This is an Australian modern classic, and it's admittedly maybe a bit of a stretch to include it on this list because the picnic food is not like that central, but it's set in the early 1900s, and a group of girls and teachers from a girls' boarding school go off to this picnic at this place called Hanging Rock, and while they are there, 3 of the girls disappear, and then everyone is trying to figure out what has happened to them. This is another book that I just had to include because I love it so much. I enjoyed reading it. I thought it was so fantastic, and I highly recommend checking it out. This one is by a female author, and it also has at least one movie adaptation and I think a TV show adaptation, possibly multiple of both. I don't know, there's definitely multiple adaptations. So if you're not sure what to pick up for the movie adaptation prompt, then this could be a really good option. This next one is a real favorite. It's With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is a Booktube darling. Acevedo is rightfully a Booktube fave. You might have heard of her books The Poet X or Clap When You Land. I haven't read either of those, but they get great praise. I really liked this one and I've seen nothing but good things about it as well. I should probably actually tell you what it's about. This is a YA novel about a girl in her last year in high school, and she's sort of trying to figure out what she needs to do with her life. She really loves cooking and wants to pursue a career in the culinary arts of some sort, but she has a young child and she feels like she really needs to just get a full-time job and work to support herself and her daughter. So she's sort of trying to figure out what to do with her life and at the same time cooking so much food. The food porn descriptions in this will make you so hungry. This is by a female author and also by a BIPOC author. Next, I have another potentially kind of unconventional choice, and that is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. When we think about food writing, I feel like we have a tendency to think about artisanal ingredients and handcrafted food and super like high dining chefs. But convenience food and fast food are food too. They're foods that arguably in North America, a lot of people probably eat a lot more of than fine dining. I care a lot about cooking home-cooked food, and I still eat a lot more convenience food than I do fancy food. So convenience store food is definitely something worth considering. And this book is just, again, it's too good to pass up. We follow Kiko, who is a 36-year-old woman and has worked in the same convenience store in the same role for 18 years. She's really happy with her life. She's feeling like she's in a good place. She's satisfied with her work and the way her life has turned out, but everyone around her is busy trying to convince her that she's done something wrong, or she should be trying to do more. She should want to get married, she should want to have kids, she should want a career job, not just a, convenience store job. And it's sort of an exploration of those themes. A word of caution, this is sometimes marketed as like a quirky, funny Japanese silliness book, and it's really not, and I think it really misses the mark to market it that way, but it is a phenomenal book with some really, really interesting observations and perspectives in it, so I highly recommend reading it. This one is also by a female author, also by a BIPOC author, and it's translated. It was originally written in Japanese, and, well, I read the English translation, but you could read the translation into, I think, multiple different languages. And finally, this is maybe controversial to use for a fiction book, but I would argue that this is sort of like microhistory. I mentioned in my nonfiction recommendations video, which I'll link up here, that I like to go fast and loose with readathon prompts, and my recommendations are as well. So I think that you could argue, because this is focusing on such a specific perspective of what it is like to work in a convenience store, and this one type of perspective on what it's like to work in a convenience store, that it's kind of a microhistory, and live your best life. Count books for as many prompts as you can. Alright, the last book I'm going to recommend is A Case of Exploding Mangoes by Mohammed Hanif. This is a dark satire about a young man in the 1980s who's attempting to assassinate the president of Pakistan because he believes he's responsible for his father's death. I did a whole review about it in, I want to say October or November, which I will link up here. It's really interesting. It was very surprising, absolutely hilarious, super dark, and yes, mangoes that explode are a key plot device in this. So other than the general prompts that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I think the only one that this one fits is a BIPOC author. It's a great book and I highly recommend picking it up if that sounds like something that might be interesting to you. Alright, I think that's the end of our recommendations. This has probably been a super short video because, as I have said so many times, I feel so weird doing this, but did it, and I hope you found some interesting things that maybe you hadn't considered as possible food writing candidates. I don't know, maybe my co-hosts are going to be up in arms when they see what I'm recommending as food writing, but I don't think so. I think they're pretty chill ladies, and they'll be cool with this. If you guys are reading any fiction books for Book Buffet, I would love to hear about what they are down below. And if you like this video, please give it a like. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.